Thank you for having me here. I'm going to talk about what I did in the Sahara a little bit. I'll start to explain what the Marathon des Sables is. It's a event in the southern Morocco in the Sahara. It takes over 6 days and it makes you run or walk about a marathon a day. It's split in just under marathons in the first 3 days. Then you have a long stage which is about 75 kilometers to 90 kilometers depending over 2 days, and then you have a proper full marathon, and that's where you sleep at night. So as a child I was identified as being overactive. I think these days there are intelligent words like ADD or ADHD. And as an adult I did a similar personality test and I was an introvert. Now the Sahara brings out in you or supports you in being introvert and extrovert. The next picture you're going to see, you can see I was very overactive. This was in my traveling years for work. Some not so overactive but more eating active that I did. And one day in a plane, I think it was the Dutch national airline, I read an article about the Marathon des Sables. I was totally inactive, so what would it interest me? But that was the first time something changed in me that made me think that's something I would like to do. That took about another 10 years, 15 years before I actually did something and started to make an effort to being able to run. So my first run, and I started to train for that, and that changed the way I started to think about what was important to me was the Kingston breakfast run. When I say run, it was more like a hobble and a jog because it took me about an hour and 15 minutes. This clearly wasn't training for the Kingston breakfast run. I know there's somebody in the audience who recognizes this space very well. But this for me meant that I had to end up here. This is the heat chamber in the university here, where I spent about 10 days or 10 hours, 10 or 11 hours in 2015, acclimatizing. And what it meant for me, I started to think about what's important to me, what's important. Is it important to go to the pub and get drunk? Or is it important to go to bed and wake up at 5 and run to New Malden, get in the train to Vauxhall, run to work and then run back from work, which means you do about 20, 30, 40 kilometers on a day, because you're going to be out there on your feet for a long time, in the sand, which is unforgiving. But I've also seen this in people I got to know through this event, where people change what's important to them. People may have a job and think it's important. I had a job, and I didn't get along with my boss. I'm not going to name the company, but didn't get along with my boss. And I asked him to make me an offer I couldn't refuse. That was in 2012, about 4 months before I was going to go to my first MDS event. And I decided to take the offer I couldn't refuse and go contracting, not knowing what I was doing, but knowing that I was going to be out for 10 days, not earning any money. Because that was important to me, to go to this place that I always dreamt of, but never known anything about, besides Lawrence of Arabia movies, where there are Tuaregs and men on horses and a lot of sand. So I decided to go there. This picture is the buses that you get into when you come out of a 4 or 5 hour plane ride, and they take you six hours into a plane to go about 300 kilometers up north in Morocco. As I said, I started to change. My outlook of life became, other things became important. Important became nutrition, became going to bed early, sleeping well, and every now and then going out. And you become a cheap date because 2 beers in and you're basically drunk. But as I said, I changed. I decided to stop working as a permanent in a very safe company where I could have retired. There are other people I know, and these people, they are not here, but I know there's one person in the room who may recognize some of them, who have made other decisions as well, or have actually realized that what bothered you before you went, and then you come back, and actually what bothered you that much wasn't such of a bother, you know. Actually, my job isn't that bad. I have kids to put through university. Well, I don't. Well, I do, but they're not here. And it's not as expensive in Holland as it is here, so it's easy. And it's like, well, actually, maybe it's not as bad, my life, as it is. Because you go there and there's nothing, but you bump into people. Like him. Oh, that's me. This is breakfast at one of the first days. But you start to think about what's important, what bothers me, and then you come back. And maybe it bothers you so much you can actually make decisions and say, I'm going to stop doing something that I don't like, and I'm going to do something I like, with all the risks associated with it. What the desert also did for me, it plays very well on my introvert personality, because it's a vast nothing. You're around another 1,500 people, but you can be totally alone. You're not lonely, but you're alone. The extrovert that has to be pushed, which I am not, is the fact that you sleep in a tent with 8 people that fits about 6.5 people. So you get very intimate with people, sort of intimacy, and you don't wash for 6 days, 7 days. Which is okay, you know, nobody's washed. Everybody smells, so basically you lose all sense of smell. Until you get back in that bus to the hotel and your smell comes back. This is a picture where you are preparing yourself in the morning to go and put that bag on your back. That bag contains everything for the day, except the water that you get at every 10-12 kilometer point. But you carry it, and you carry it from the Sunday you start, with your food, with your mattress, with your sleeping bag, with certain mandatory items. And then what you see me wearing there is basically what you wear for 7 days, 6 days. So that doesn't get washed, you don't get washed. And you need to make your life work with all of that. The reason I'm holding this phone in my hand, because you'd wonder why, is because there are sometimes events or things I do that I want to know how much time I have, and in the desert time's very important. Every 5 minutes, my watch beeps to drink. I know that after 4 or 5 of those beeps, I need to take a salt pill. Because what's important in the desert, what changes you in how you think about things, is you need water. Because most people fail here because they don't manage nutrition, they don't manage their drink. They don't fail because they get accidents. Nobody really gets hurt in there. And I've started to put that into my personal life as well, is that I am relatively chaotic, but I do plan, but I am very flexible in changing my plans. Because what I'm actually telling you here is almost about 90% different of what I've had been rehearsing since I sent the chairman this mail. Yeah, I'll join, you know. Don't put me first, I'll go in the second round. But I had to think, now I'm going to speak in public about not something I've ever spoken in public about. I've spoken in public about work stuff that I know, but I haven't spoken in public about more personal things. Happy to talk about personal things, you know, dinner, whatever. So this was my opportunity to move the I into a little bit of an E. So another example, there's a lady who was and she knows I'm telling this, so I have her approval. She was a lawyer, a good lawyer, earned quite good money, and decided after 2015, last year, when she did it, that being a lawyer wasn't for her. So this year, she resigned after the bonus was paid out. Good point, that's good for her. And she now runs a running school in Morocco with a gentleman called Mohamed Ahensal, who is a 5-time winner of the Marathon des Sables, because that's what she likes to do. She's also managed to get herself on the cover of Women's Runner's World. I'm not sure how she did that, but that's what she likes to do. Her mind changed after coming back from the MDS, which is short of the Marathon des Sables, to do something she wanted. A friend of mine, he wasn't that happy in his job, came back, realized his job wasn't that bad. That actually what he would like to do, he investigated. He wanted a coffee shop somewhere on the continent, investigated it and worked out it wasn't going to work. And when he and I had a coffee and talked about it, he actually said, you know what, yes, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was before I went. Now, I'm a lot more happy in my job. I'm a lot more satisfied in my job. And I'm quite happy being here. A little bit about the event. This is after you've climbed a 600-meter dune. And the rope on the side, you don't need to use it, but it's so steep that it is advised to use it. And up there you can see the camp on normally the first or second day, which is only 5 kilometers away, 3 miles for those of you who only do Imperial. That's only a 20-minute run, isn't it? Or 25 or 30, or maybe even 35 if you're not the fastest 5K runner. Out there it could well be an hour, and you can see it. And it never comes closer. It's where the light at the end of the tunnel is really at the end of the tunnel. Now, I did this event in 2013 and in 2015, and I'll do it again in 2018. It is a similar route, so you recognize things. And that sometimes the recognition is a safe place because you know what's going to happen, but it deviates a bit and you need to be able to deal with the deviation. You plan to have spaghetti bolognese for dinner and you can't find your spaghetti bolognese in your bag. Now, believe me, that is a disaster. Grown men will cry. You decided to have porridge for breakfast. You can't find your porridge. So what do you eat? Spaghetti bolognese, because that's there. We've all been on the beach, at least most of you, I assume, have been on the beach. You've been on the beach for a whole day and your water is nice and warm. What do? You go to the bar and you get a cold drink. That water makes you go through the next 10 minutes. It's gross, it doesn't taste, it's the most horrible water in the world, but you have to drink it. So you learn to, for me, learn to live with less things. I can now put my phone away because there's a time running there, but it's counting down, so I need to pay attention to that. But that's what I loved as well. The day you put your bag in the storage for the week you're gone, my iPhone goes in there. And the only technology I have is a Timex watch that beeps every 5 minutes and then pisses off everybody the first night because it keeps on beeping, to drink. This is how you eat. You all know the 5-second or 3-second rule of your foot on the floor, and then you can pick it up. 5 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever many seconds on the floor. So basically what this is freeze-dried food with some water and you mix it and then you eat it because you need nutrition or you need calories. Now we're getting more intelligent and the nutrition is not just fat calories, it is a bit more intelligent, but this is what you do. So I've used this in my life to be far more flexible than I already ever was. And I love change. I love change with it. It's the best thing in the world, you know. If you stick where you are, it'll always be the same. I love change, but this has helped me actually change far more, being far more open to change. You plan again, and then if you do not know how to survive without deviating from that planning, you will have a big problem. So this is at most likely the start of one of the days. You do get a 10 because it is 40 to 50 degrees out there. It doesn't freeze at night, really, in contrary of popular belief. But that's what I had to learn. It's not the cold at night to 10 degrees. It's the difference of 50 degrees to 10 degrees that makes you suffer because you're tired. While you sleep from 7 to about 5, 6 in the morning, it's not a comfortable sleep, and all the other people snore. I don't snore, yeah. Honestly, believe me, I do not snore. All the others snore, but you learn how to sleep and rest and find friends for life and people you can rely on. and people you can talk with and who understand how you think. And that was really interesting. You suddenly are there with 1,000 people who understand how you think, what's important to you, because it's important to them. 53 nations, 53 languages. It's a French event. It's in French. Yeah? You don't speak French, you have a bit of a challenge. They have a translator, which is a lovely French lady who speaks French English. But you get through it, and then you go down. Different rope, same mountain, and you need to climb down. Now, this looks very simple, because it looks like a stairs. It's not stairs, it's a bit of what you can walk. So how do most people walk it? Like you walk the stairs, face down. Actually, it's better to walk it around and walk it like this. And that's the kind of changes that work for me. Coca-Cola, last day of the long stage. Really bad for you, isn't it? No, it's not. This is just a view of where you go. These rubbles have a deal with your blisters. Your blister, that rubble, they will find each other in a love affair. And they kiss really hard. Bang. That's romance with a bang there. The tent in 2013, still friends. These are all live here in the UK. While we don't talk every day, you know, we help each other out. If one of the guys goes do a 100-mile run, somebody else will run with him, parts of it. Somebody will be there the whole night. I would have never thought I would do that for people 4 or 5 years ago. Why the fuck would I go through the night when he wants to run? What nonsense is that? The 2015 tent, totally international. Moroccan, Australian, Northern Ireland, Dutch, 2 South African, 3 South Africans on the right. Yeah, you can't see them every day because they live all around the world. But we do talk to each other. When the guy on the left, the second on the left, went to do his Everest climbing, we are all there with him because it's important to support people you've spent 7 nights with in a tent and shared tears with. And then that's why you do it. You get a medal that says a year of how many there were, and that's the medal you do it for. But it sticks with you all your life.